I'd like to thank Inazul for the kind invitation. Uh, my talk is a little different on bariatric endoscopy and certain drugs which are coming up for the weight loss. So obesity, all you know that it is, if BMI is more than 30, and it is a pandemic which is actually all over the world, and it has involving India also. And there is a multiple factors which are working. It's not only genetic, but unbalanced diet and sedentary habits. All these three will lead to obesity. In US, the prevalence ranges from 23 to 38, and in India also it is dramatically high. And the management, as far as for obesity is concerned, it is lifestyle modification, then pharmacotherapy, then some endoscopic therapies, and finally surgery. Obesity, it affects every organ of our human body, starting from the mind till urogenital, skeletal system, skin, and all vital organs are being involved because of obesity. As far as management is concerned, clinically significant weight loss should be there, which should be 5% reduction with any intervention, and there should be improvement in other cardiometabolic risk factors. The indications are if the BMI is more than 30 or more than 27 with comorbidities, and the treatment is lifestyle modification, behavioral therapy, and endoscopic therapy. Indication for surgery if the BMI is more than 35 without comorbidities, and individuals with metabolic diseases and a BMI of 30 to 35, again we can do that. In Asians, we have a lower BMI for the indication, that is BMI of more than 25 is the clinical obesity, and more than 27.5 kilogram is they can earn surgery. And we have to individualize, especially in children and young adults, about the need for surgery in obesity. This is a busy slide, but I want to say that there is a endocrine control of appetite. It is centrally mediated and also peripherally mediated. In the center, there are few ganglions, receptors at various levels. And in short, leptin, insulin, and amylin, they are actually long-term regulators. That means they give signals to the brain depending on the fat stored in the body. And there are gut hormones which are other hormones are short-term regulators for the food intake while the meal is being taken. Hunger and satiety are also influenced by the environment, the palatability of the food, and the food odor. So there are many factors which will come along for having the increase in diet. As far as obesity treatment is concerned, endoscopic, bariatric, and metabolic therapy, the advantages, it is less invasive, and there are drawbacks for the invasive surgery. There is a relapse in up to 50% of the patients at 5 years after surgery, and laparoscopic surgery, they have got a high rates of long-term micronutrient deficiencies, and the low patient acceptance is there. It doesn't matter how you actually convince them, there are very few patients who will agree to such an invasive procedure for the treatment of obesity. And the expected weight loss by this endoscopic treatment is around 10 to 20%, along with lifestyle interventions. They have to be continued with each therapy. So we have got various type of interventions. One is primarily for the weight loss, and the other one is for the glycemic control, which also leads to weight loss. So we'll take one by one. Intragastric balloons and transpyloric shuttle. These have the mechanism, they occupy the space in the stomach, and they decrease the volume and reduce the gastric emptying. And the efficacy-wise, meta-analysis have shown that the weight loss is the tune of 10.7% at 6 months, but it reduces at 12 months if you remove the balloon. And the weight loss at 12 months is lower than what you have at 6 months after the removal. There are certain side effects like mucosal injury, perforation, obstruction, and infection to the tune of 5% in these patients. The transpyloric shuttle is a little different. It has got two balloons, one small, the other one is big. The smaller one goes across the pylorus and leads to intermittent gastric outlet obstruction. there's only, it has been approved by FDA only for clinical trials, and there was a study in which actually it was shown that in 270 patients, there was excess weight loss of around 30% as compared to around 9% with the control group, and the side effects were not very many, that was 2.5%. So various type of balloons we have, normally they contain liquid, single balloons what we have in India, and these are kept for 6 months to 12 months, and they are being approved by FDA and also from the European, from the Europe, and most of them have endoscopic procedure to do for placement. Then we have endoscopic treatment for by remodeling. Again, special instruments are required, and it is a highly skilled type of endoscopy. It is not being done routinely in many centers in India. I think not more than 5 to 10 centers in India may be doing this work. So it has got 2 ways to do it. One is actually gastroplasty, in which you suture at the greater curve, and then pose. That means actually, you suture in the fundus, so you reduce the volume of fundus in pose, and in ESG you actually reduce the volume longitudinally. So the systemic reviews have shown that at 6 months the weight loss is 15%, at 12 months 16.5%, and around 24 months is 17.2%. And the pooled data shows acceptable side effects of 2.2%, nausea, abdominal pain, upper GI bleed, perigastric leak, collection abscesses. The problem with remodeling is the availability. That is the problem with this. Otherwise, balloons are good enough to take care of what we want. Then we come to the remodeling, ESG versus pose. A meta-analysis have shown that both are equally effective, both procedures. ESG has been found to be superior to cause excessive weight loss as compared to pose. ESG compared with surgery in a meta-analysis done by Mohan has shown that the total weight loss at 12 months was more with ESG, and lower rate of side effects also as compared to surgery. So it is little safer and a little less effective than the surgery. Aspiration technique, so you have a peg and then you have an aspiration device. So you remove 30% of the feeded material, and there's a good weight loss around 18%, but it was withdrawn because the study was done during the COVID era, and so it didn't continue. So there's another study which is going on where we are waiting for the results. Endoscopic treatment by duodenal mucosal resurfacing has been taken in detail by Dr. Reddy, in which actually, the area between the papilla and the ligament of Treves, actually the mucosa is resurfaced by giving high temperature to that, and it has been shown to have reduction in HbA1c and also in the median weight reduction as compared to the sham group. So endoscopic treatment then by DJ bypass, we have mechanism of actually bypassing the proximal small intestine. Again, the weight loss is quite good, around 20%, but this was actually suspended because there were many patients who got liver abscesses during the study, so it has been withdrawn. The other study is under the way. So there is another way of doing it. That means you create an anastomosis between the proximal jejunum and distal ileum by placing 2 magnets from endoscopy and retrograde enteroscopy. The results are good. Only 10 patients, one study, 15% weight loss. No other data is available for the long-term consequences. So these have already covered. As far as NFLD is concerned, about the effects on NFLD, it is a combination of 18 studies, including balloons and aspiration therapy and ESG, weight loss of around 15% at 6 months follow-up, improvement mostly in surrogate markers like steatosis, ALT, and NASH on histology. There is a decrease in insulin resistance and waist circumference. Presently the quality of evidence is low to very low. There are few more studies required to show its effect on NFLD. Now I'll come to the anti-obesity medications. These are the medications which are actually, started way back in 1999, Orlistat. Again, these are actually enzyme inhibitors. It leads to steatorrhea. And there were two group of drugs, a combination drug of phentermine and topiramate and naltrexone and bupropion. These were the drugs actually they were being tried in patients with mental diseases, psychiatric diseases, and those patients were obese, and it was found that these drugs also actually are helpful in reducing the weight. They all act on some central receptors, and the studies of are of duration of up to 1 year. The major side effects are these combination therapies, those which were being used for depression and all, were central. And then came liraglutide, semaglutide, and tirzepatide. All these drugs actually are peripherally acting. They have got some central action also. Their major side effects are not very many. They are abdominal, basically diarrhea, vomiting, constipation. Few of them, they get headache also with this. And these drugs actually are helpful in actually reducing the weight. The later drugs are a little safer than the previous ones. And anti-obesity medications, you see this graph, you will find that even in a long-term study, which are for 1 year, there is a significant weight loss, but as compared to the placebo. But if you see the tirzepatide, which is coming, and it was a phase 2 study in which actually 3 doses were studied, and the weight loss is around 20%. So it is as good as actually you get a weight loss by interventional therapies. So anti-obesity medicines are to be continued in only those patients who respond. That is, the response rate is seen at 3 months. There should be reduction of 5% of the weight. If it doesn't reduce, then you have to change the medicine. And the systemic review and meta-analysis have shown that phentermine topiramate is a good combination for losing weight. Then GLP-1 receptor agonists also are good. The problem with these drugs which act centrally is the increased side effects by increasing the dose. The semaglutide have got a larger benefit of continuing with the same drug with less number of side effects. As far as the effect on steatotic liver is concerned, orlistat, liraglutide, and semaglutide, all these actually lead to decrease in fat and decrease in inflammation. There is no improvement in fibrosis which has been shown with these drugs. So, then we have a study by Dr. Loomba. Again, this was a study in which actually tirzepatide has been, 3 doses have been tried, and it has been shown that it not only decreases the weight, but also it decreases the inflammation, and there is 1 stage improvement in fibrosis as compared to the placebo. You can actually tailor your choice of anti-obesity drugs if there are comorbidities. Otherwise, liraglutide, semaglutide, or phentermine and topiramate combination is good enough. And if you compare, I mean, there are studies in which it has been shown that if there is a relapse of the disease process after surgery, then you can actually give them semaglutide, and it has been found that it is actually more effective, more cost effective, and with a greater degree of weight loss. So if you compare the cost also, the cost of your interventional therapy should be as good as semaglutide at present stage because of the high cost. So I like to conclude that lifestyle interventions have limitations due to burden of lifestyle changes and poor efficacy. To continue with the lifestyle intervention is very difficult in obese patients. Bariatric patients remains, bariatric surgery is underused because of invasiveness, morbidity, and the cost. And endoscopic therapy is effective, safe, and minimally invasive. Weight loss with endoscopic therapy is to the tune of 10 to 15%, which actually maintains up to 5 years around 15%, and acceptable side effects. Older drugs can't achieve a greater weight loss of more than 10% with tolerable doses, but newer drugs, semaglutide, tirzepatide, can change the future as far as the medical management is concerned. Semaglutide and tirzepatide can achieve weight loss of up to 15% with acceptable side effects at long term. The cost burden with long-term anti-drugs are to be explored, and these drugs and our interventions reduce the liver-related steatosis and inflammation. Fibrosis with the newer drugs are coming down. So further studies are required with these drugs, and we have to actually tailor the therapy according to patient preference, efficacy, comorbidities, and long-term financial implications. Thank you for your kind attention.